How do we find calm in the storm of loss and grief? It's a question that touches every one of us at some point in life. The ancient Stoic philosopher Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. These words remind us that while we can't control what happens to us, we can control how we respond. Today, we'll explore how Stoic principles like acceptance, resilience, and presence can help us navigate the painful terrain of loss and grief. These timeless ideas aren't just philosophical musings, they're practical tools that can guide us through life's most challenging moments. By the end of this video, you'll walk away with insights and strategies to face loss with a sense of calm, clarity, and even hope. Stoicism teaches us that not everything is within our power, and that's okay. This idea, known as the Dichotomy of Control, is one of the most foundational principles in Stoic philosophy. It's all about recognizing the difference between what we can change and what we simply can't. When we face loss or grief, this distinction becomes incredibly powerful. Think about it. You can't control the fact that someone you love is no longer here, or that a sudden change has turned your life upside down. But what you can control is how you choose to respond to it. Epictetus, one of the great Stoic teachers, put it this way: "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." This isn't about suppressing your emotions or pretending everything is fine. It's about understanding where your power truly lies. For example, imagine losing a job unexpectedly. You can't control the decision your employer made, but you can control how you move forward, whether you allow the setback to define you or use it as an opportunity to grow and explore new paths. Take a moment to reflect on your own life. What's something you're grieving or struggling with right now? What parts of that situation are outside your control, and what aspects can you influence? By focusing your energy on what you can change, you reclaim a sense of agency, even in the face of loss. This doesn't make the pain go away, but it does give you a way to navigate it with purpose and resilience. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher, often reflected on the fleeting nature of life in his personal writings. In his meditations, he wrote, "Everything is ephemeral, both that which remembers and that which is remembered." This profound observation underscores a core Stoic truth: nothing lasts forever. Relationships, careers, even our own lives, everything is subject to change. But rather than seeing this as a source of despair, Stoicism invites us to embrace impermanence as a fundamental part of existence. Think about it. If we could hold onto everything forever, would we truly appreciate it? The transient nature of life isn't something to fear or resist. Instead, it's a reminder to cherish what we have while we have it. The seasons change, friendships evolve, and people come and go. This isn't a flaw in the design of life, it's the design itself. Take, for example, a modern relationship. Whether it's a friendship, a romantic partnership, or even a professional connection, these bonds are rarely static. Some grow stronger while others fade over time. By accepting that change is inevitable, we can approach these shifts with less resistance and more grace. Instead of clinging to what was, we can focus on what is and what can be. So, how might accepting impermanence change the way you approach loss? When we stop fighting against the natural flow of life, we free ourselves from unnecessary suffering. It doesn't mean the pain disappears, but it does mean we can face it with a sense of calm and clarity. The next time you feel the sting of loss, try asking yourself, what can this moment teach me? How can I honor what's past while still moving forward? These questions don't erase the ache, but they can help you find meaning in the midst of it. Stoicism teaches us to observe our emotions without being consumed by them. This practice, known as cognitive detachment, is a powerful tool for emotional resilience. It's not about ignoring or suppressing what we feel. It's about creating a small but crucial distance between ourselves and our emotions. Think of it like stepping back from a painting to see the whole picture rather than being so close that all you notice are the brushstrokes. Seneca, one of Stoicism's most influential thinkers, once wrote, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." What does this mean? It's a reminder that much of our pain comes not from the event itself, but from how we interpret it. For example, when we lose someone we love, our grief is real, but the stories we tell ourselves about what could have been, what we should have done differently, can amplify that pain. Cognitive detachment helps us separate the raw emotion from the narratives we build around it. Consider this. Imagine revisiting a painful memory, like the last conversation you had with someone before they passed away. Instead of letting the emotions of that moment overwhelm you, what if you could observe them from a place of calm? You might notice the sadness, the regret, or the longing, but you wouldn't let those feelings define you. You'd acknowledge them, honor them, and then gently let them pass. This practice isn't about denying your emotions, it's about giving yourself the space to process them without being overwhelmed. It's like standing on the shore of a turbulent sea. The waves may crash around you, but you're not swept away. You remain steady, even as the water rises and falls. Take a moment to reflect on your own emotional responses. Are there situations where you feel completely overtaken by your feelings? How might stepping back, even just a little, change the way you experience those moments? Cognitive detachment isn't about becoming cold or indifferent. It's about finding clarity and strength in the midst of chaos. It's a way to honor your emotions without letting them control you. What if we could see loss not as an enemy but as a teacher? What if every moment of grief, every painful experience, held within it the seeds of growth and transformation? This is the essence of Amor Fati, a Latin phrase that translates to love of fate. It's a Stoic practice that invites us to embrace every experience, even the painful ones, as essential parts of our journey. Friedrich Nietzsche, who drew inspiration from Stoicism, once wrote, "My formula for greatness in a human being is Amor Fati." This isn't about blindly accepting suffering or pretending everything is perfect. It's about recognizing that even in loss, there's an opportunity to learn, to grow, and to deepen our understanding of life. Think about a time when something didn't go as planned. Maybe it was a relationship that ended, a dream that didn't materialize, or a goal that slipped through your fingers. At first, it might feel like a failure, a setback, or even a betrayal. But what if you could look at that moment differently? What if you could say, "This happened for me, not to me"? That shift in perspective is at the heart of Amor Fati. For example, imagine someone who loses their job unexpectedly. It's a devastating blow, no doubt. But what if, instead of seeing it as the end, they saw it as a chance to explore new opportunities, to rediscover their passions, or to build a more fulfilling career? This doesn't mean the loss doesn't hurt. It just means the pain isn't the whole story. There's also potential, possibility, and even growth waiting to be uncovered. So, how might Amor Fati change the way you approach your own challenges? When you face a moment of loss or grief, could you ask yourself, what can I learn from this? How can this experience shape me into a stronger, wiser, or more compassionate person? These questions don't erase the pain, but they do help you find meaning within it. Take a moment to reflect. What's one difficult experience in your life that, looking back, taught you something valuable? Maybe it was a painful breakup that helped you understand what you truly want in a relationship, or a failure that pushed you to try harder and achieve more than you thought possible. By embracing Amor Fati, you're not just enduring life's challenges, you're transforming them into opportunities for growth. It's a practice that doesn't make loss less painful, but it does make it more meaningful. Stoicism reminds us that the present moment is all we truly have. It's easy to get lost in the weight of what's been lost or the uncertainty of what's to come, but the here and now is where life unfolds. Marcus Aurelius put it beautifully when he said, "Confine yourself to the present." This isn't just a philosophical idea, it's a practical tool for navigating grief. When we focus on the present, we're less likely to be overwhelmed by regrets about the past or fears about the future. Think about it, grief often pulls us in two directions. We might find ourselves replaying memories, wishing things had turned out differently, or worrying about how we'll cope moving forward. But the present moment offers a kind of sanctuary. It's the only place where we can truly connect with ourselves and the world around us. For example, consider a simple mindfulness practice like focusing on your breath. When you're mourning, your mind might feel like a storm of emotions: anger, sadness, confusion. But by anchoring yourself in the rhythm of your breathing, even for just a few moments, you create a space of calm. This doesn't erase the pain, but it does give you a moment of clarity, a chance to steady yourself amidst the chaos. How can you bring this sense of presence into your own life? Maybe it's through journaling, where you take a few minutes each day to reflect on how you're feeling in the moment. Or perhaps it's by spending time in nature, letting the sights and sounds ground you. Even something as simple as savoring a cup of tea, really noticing the warmth, the aroma, the taste, can become an act of mindfulness. Being present doesn't mean ignoring the past or the future. It's about recognizing that the present is where we have the most power to act, to feel, and to heal. When we allow ourselves to fully experience the now, we're not just surviving grief, we're honoring it. So, the next time you feel pulled in different directions by your emotions, try this. Pause, take a deep breath, and ask yourself, what can I do right now to care for myself? It's a small step, but it can make a world of difference. Resilience isn't about avoiding pain, it's about enduring it with strength. This is the heart of Stoic philosophy when it comes to facing life's toughest moments. Resilience, as a Stoic virtue, isn't a shield that protects us from hardship. It's the inner fortitude that allows us to stand tall even when the ground beneath us feels like it's crumbling. Epictetus, the Stoic teacher who faced his own share of adversity, once said, "Difficulties show what men are." In other words, it's not the absence of challenges that defines us, it's how we rise to meet them. When we experience loss, whether it's the death of a loved one, the end of a relationship, or a significant life change, it can feel like the world is conspiring against us. But Stoicism invites us to see these moments differently. Instead of viewing them as setbacks, we can see them as opportunities to cultivate resilience and deepen our character. Think of it like forging steel. It's the heat and pressure that make it stronger. Take, for example, someone who has lost a parent. The grief is profound, the void immense. But over time, they might find that the experience has shaped them in unexpected ways. Perhaps they've become more compassionate, more appreciative of the time they have with others, or more determined to live a life that honors their loved one's memory. This isn't about minimizing the pain, it's about recognizing that even in the darkest moments there's potential for growth. So, how have you demonstrated resilience in your own life? Maybe it's through a small act of perseverance, like getting out of bed on a day when you felt like staying under the covers. Or maybe it's something bigger, like rebuilding your life after a major loss. Resilience doesn't always look heroic. Sometimes it's quiet, steady, and deeply personal. The Stoics believed that every challenge is an opportunity to practice virtue. When we face loss with resilience, we're not just surviving, we're embodying courage, patience, and strength. We're proving to ourselves that even in the face of pain, we're capable of enduring and even thriving. So, the next time you find yourself in the midst of difficulty, ask yourself, how can this moment shape me? What kind of strength can I draw from it? Resilience isn't about erasing the hurt, it's about carrying it with grace and using it to become the best version of yourself. What if loss isn't the end but a new beginning? This question lies at the heart of Stoic philosophy when it comes to reframing our perspective on grief and change. Seneca, one of Stoicism's most profound thinkers, once observed, "We are more often frightened than hurt, and we suffer more from imagination than from reality." What he's pointing to here is the power of our own minds to shape how we experience loss. It's not the event itself that defines us, it's the meaning we attach to it. And that meaning can change. Think about it this way. When we lose something or someone important to us, our initial reaction is often to see it as an ending. The relationship is over, the opportunity is gone, the chapter has closed. But what if we could see it differently? What if, instead of an ending, we saw it as a pivot point, a moment that sets us on a new path? Take, for example, someone who loses a job they've held for years. At first, it might feel like a devastating blow, a rejection of their skills and worth. But what if they reframed it as an opportunity to pursue a passion they'd set aside, or to explore a career that aligns more closely with their values? This doesn't mean the loss doesn't hurt, it just means the story doesn't have to stop there. Reframing isn't about denying the pain or pretending everything is fine. It's about acknowledging the reality of the situation while also opening yourself up to the possibilities it might bring. It's like looking at a landscape through a different lens. The scenery hasn't changed, but the way you see it has. So how might you apply this to your own life? When you face a moment of loss or disappointment, could you ask yourself, what new doors might this open for me? How might this experience shape me in ways I can't yet see? These questions don't erase the hurt, but they do help you find a sense of purpose and direction in the midst of it. Consider this: every loss carries with it the seeds of something new. A relationship that ends might teach you what you truly value in a partner. A dream that doesn't come to fruition might lead you to discover a deeper passion. Even the death of a loved one, as painful as it is, can inspire you to live more fully and love more deeply. The Stoic practice of reframing isn't about ignoring the pain, it's about finding meaning within it. It's a way to honor what's been lost while also embracing the potential for growth and renewal. So, the next time you face a challenge, try stepping back and asking yourself, what's another way to look at this? How might this experience, however difficult, be shaping me into the person I'm meant to become? Even in grief, there is always something to be grateful for. This might sound counterintuitive when loss feels all-consuming, but gratitude is one of the most powerful tools Stoicism offers for navigating dark times. It's not about ignoring the pain or pretending everything is fine. It's about finding moments of light, however small, to help guide you through the shadows. Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic emperor, once wrote, "When you arise in the morning, think of what a precious privilege it is to be alive." This simple practice of acknowledging the gifts we still have can shift our perspective, even in the midst of sorrow. Gratitude doesn't erase grief, but it can soften its edges. Think about it this way: when we lose someone or something important, it's natural to focus on what's missing. But what if we also took a moment to notice what remains? Maybe it's the warmth of a friend's support, the beauty of a sunrise, or even the memory of a shared laugh. These small joys don't replace what's been lost, but they remind us that life, even in its fragility, still holds meaning. Consider someone mourning the loss of a loved one. The pain is undeniable, but within that grief, there might also be gratitude for the time they had together, for the lessons learned, or for the love that remains even after the person is gone. This isn't about minimizing the loss, it's about expanding the lens through which we see it. Gratitude allows us to hold both the sorrow and the sweetness, the absence and the presence in the same space. So, what are you grateful for, even in this moment? Maybe it's the support of a loved one, the comfort of a familiar routine, or the simple fact that you're here, breathing and alive. Take a moment to reflect on what still brings you joy, however small. Gratitude isn't a cure for grief, but it is a way to honor the fullness of life, its joys and its sorrows, its losses and its gifts. By practicing gratitude, we're not just surviving grief, we're finding ways to live within it. It's a practice that doesn't ask us to forget or move on, but to remember and appreciate. And in doing so, we create a space where healing can begin, one small moment of gratitude at a time. Seneca, the great Stoic philosopher, once wrote, "Death is a release from the impressions of the senses and from desires that make us their puppets." This might sound stark at first, but it's a profound reminder of how Stoicism approaches one of life's most universal experiences, death. For the Stoics, death isn't something to fear, it's a natural part of existence, as inevitable and ordinary as the changing of seasons. This perspective doesn't diminish the weight of loss, but it does help us face it with a sense of calm and acceptance. Think about it this way: every living thing has a beginning and an end. A tree grows from a seed, reaches its full height, and eventually returns to the earth. The same is true for us. Death isn't a punishment or a tragedy, it's simply the completion of a cycle. By accepting this, we can begin to let go of the fear that often surrounds it. Of course, this doesn't mean we stop grieving or feeling the pain of loss. It's natural to mourn when someone we love passes away, but Stoicism invites us to see death as a reminder to cherish the time we have, rather than dread the moment it ends. Marcus Aurelius put it simply: do not act as if you had 10,000 years to live. In other words, life is fleeting, and that's what makes it precious. Consider this: how might your perspective change if you viewed death not as an enemy, but as a natural transition? For example, imagine preparing for the loss of a loved one who is terminally ill. Instead of being consumed by fear and sadness, you could focus on making the most of the time you have left, sharing stories, expressing love, and creating memories that will endure. This doesn't erase the pain of their passing, but it does allow you to approach it with a sense of peace and gratitude. So, how can we apply this Stoic view of death to our own lives? Start by reflecting on your own mortality. It might feel uncomfortable at first, but this exercise isn't about dwelling on the end, it's about appreciating the present. When we acknowledge that our time is limited, we're more likely to live with intention, to prioritize what truly matters, and to let go of what doesn't. The Stoic view of death isn't about resignation, it's about liberation. It's a way to free ourselves from the fear that can overshadow our lives and to embrace each moment with clarity and purpose. The next time you find yourself grappling with the idea of mortality, try asking yourself, how can I honor the life I have, knowing that it won't last forever? This question doesn't erase the weight of death, but it does help us carry it with grace and gratitude. How can we lean on others while maintaining our inner strength? This question lies at the heart of navigating grief, and Stoicism offers a profound yet practical answer. While the philosophy emphasizes self-reliance, it also recognizes the importance of connection and shared humanity. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "What is not good for the swarm is not good for the bee." In other words, we are deeply interconnected, and our well-being is tied to the well-being of those around us. Grief, as universal as it is, reminds us that we don't have to face it alone. Stoicism teaches us to cultivate inner resilience, but it doesn't ask us to isolate ourselves or suppress our need for support. Instead, it encourages us to find balance, to draw strength from within while also allowing ourselves to be held by others. Think of it like a tree in a forest. It stands tall on its own, but its roots are intertwined with those of other trees, creating a network of mutual support. Consider the example of a grief support group. In a space like this, individuals come together to share their stories, their pain, and their hope. It's not about relying on others to fix your grief. It's about finding comfort in the shared experience of being human. You might hear someone else's story and realize you're not alone in your struggle. Or you might offer a listening ear to someone else and in doing so, discover a sense of purpose and connection. But how do we balance this need for community with the Stoic ideal of self-reliance? It's about understanding that leaning on others isn't a sign of weakness, it's an acknowledgement of our shared humanity. You can still maintain your inner strength while allowing yourself to be supported. For example, you might share your feelings with a trusted friend, not to seek answers, but simply to feel seen and understood. Or you might join a community activity that brings you joy, reminding yourself that life, even in its darkest moments, still holds moments of light. Take a moment to reflect on your own life. Who are the people you can turn to when grief feels overwhelming? How can you both give and receive support in a way that strengthens your resilience without creating dependency? The Stoic approach to community isn't about losing yourself in others, it's about finding strength in connection, and in doing so, honoring both your individuality and your place within the larger human experience. By embracing this balance, we not only navigate grief with greater ease, but we also deepen our understanding of what it means to be human. We learn that strength isn't found in isolation, it's found in the delicate interplay between self-reliance and shared support. So, the next time you feel the weight of loss, remember, you don't have to carry it alone. Lean on your community and let their presence remind you that even in the midst of pain, you are never truly alone. Writing can be a powerful way to untangle our emotions. When grief feels overwhelming, it's easy to get lost in the chaos of our thoughts, but putting pen to paper or fingers to keyboard can help us make sense of what we're feeling. Journaling, a practice deeply rooted in Stoic philosophy, offers us a way to reflect, process, and find clarity in the midst of confusion. Seneca, one of Stoicism's most eloquent voices, once said, "The time you spend with yourself is the most valuable of all." Journaling is exactly that, a dedicated space to sit with ourselves, to listen to our inner voices, and to explore what's truly going on beneath the surface. Think of journaling as a conversation with your own mind. When you write, you're not just recording events or emotions, you're engaging with them. You're asking questions, challenging assumptions, and uncovering patterns that might otherwise go unnoticed. For example, imagine writing a letter to someone you've lost. You could express what you wish you'd said, share how you're feeling now, or even reflect on the lessons they taught you. This simple act can be incredibly healing. It's not about finding the right words, it's about giving yourself permission to feel and to process. Consider this: when you journal, you're creating a map of your inner world. You might start with anger only to discover that beneath it lies sadness, or you might begin with confusion and end with a moment of unexpected clarity. The act of writing slows you down, allowing you to explore your emotions in a way that's both thoughtful and intentional. So, how might you use journaling in your own life? Perhaps you could set aside a few minutes each day to write about what's on your mind. Or maybe you could use it as a tool to reflect on a specific loss, asking yourself questions like, what am I feeling right now? What do I need in this moment? What can I learn from this experience? There's no right or wrong way to do it, just the act of showing up and being honest with yourself can be transformative. Journaling isn't about fixing your grief or rushing through it. It's about creating a space where you can honor your emotions, explore your thoughts, and slowly piece together the story of where you've been and where you're going. It's a practice that doesn't demand answers, just presence. And in that presence, you might just find a little more peace, a little more understanding, and a little more strength to carry on. Holding on to what's gone only prolongs our suffering. It's a simple truth, but one that's incredibly hard to live by. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus once said, "Freedom is the only worthy goal in life. It is won by disregarding things that lie beyond our control." These words cut straight to the heart of what it means to let go. Letting go isn't about forgetting or pretending something didn't matter. It's about freeing ourselves from the weight of what we can't change. Think of it like this: when you hold onto something that's no longer part of your life, whether it's a person, a dream, or even an old version of yourself, you're carrying a burden that doesn't belong to you anymore. It's like holding onto a heavy suitcase long after the journey is over. The longer you carry it, the more it drains you. But when you set it down, you create space to breathe, to heal, and to move forward. Take, for example, a failed relationship. It's natural to replay the memories, to wonder what went wrong, or to hold onto the hope that things might change. But what if, instead of clinging to what's lost, you chose to let go? Not because the love wasn't real, but because holding onto it keeps you stuck in a place that no longer serves you. Letting go doesn't mean you stop caring, it means you stop letting the past dictate your present. So, what's something in your life that you're holding onto? Maybe it's a grudge you can't seem to release, a goal that's no longer attainable, or even a version of yourself that no longer fits. Take a moment to reflect. What would it feel like to set that burden down? What might you gain by releasing what's no longer yours to carry? The Stoic art of letting go isn't about erasing the past, it's about honoring it, learning from it, and then allowing yourself to move on. It's a practice that requires courage, self-compassion, and a deep trust in your ability to navigate whatever comes next. When we let go of what we can't control, we reclaim our freedom. And in that freedom, we find the strength to embrace the present and step into the future with open hands and an open heart. Courage isn't the absence of fear, it's moving forward despite it. This is the essence of what Stoicism teaches about one of its most vital virtues. Courage, in the Stoic sense, isn't about being fearless or invincible. It's about standing firm in the face of hardship, even when every instinct tells you to turn away. Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic emperor, put it this way: the impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. In other words, the very things that challenge us, our fears, our losses, our pain, are the very things that can shape us into stronger, more resilient versions of ourselves. When we think of courage, we often imagine heroic acts or grand gestures. But Stoicism shows us that courage is also found in the quiet, everyday moments of endurance. It's in the decision to get out of bed on a morning when grief feels unbearable. It's in the choice to face painful memories instead of burying them. It's in the willingness to keep going, even when the path ahead feels uncertain. Consider this. Imagine someone who has lost a loved one and is now tasked with sorting through their belongings. Each item carries a memory, a story, a reminder of what's been lost. It would be easier to avoid the task altogether, to leave the boxes untouched, but to open them, to sit with the emotions that arise, to honor the past while slowly making space for the future. That's courage. It's not about being strong all the time. It's about showing up even when it hurts. So, how have you shown courage in your own life? Maybe it's been through a small act, like reaching out to a friend when you needed support. Or perhaps it's been something bigger, like stepping into a new chapter of life after a significant loss. Courage doesn't always look dramatic. Sometimes it's simply the quiet determination to keep moving forward, one step at a time. The Stoics believed that every challenge is an opportunity to practice virtue. When we face grief with courage, we're not just surviving, we're embodying strength, resilience, and an unwavering commitment to growth. We're proving to ourselves that even in the face of fear, we have the capacity to endure and even thrive. Take a moment to reflect. What's one way you've demonstrated courage in the midst of loss? How did it change you, even if only in a small way? These moments, however small, are proof of your inner strength. They remind us that courage isn't about being fearless, it's about moving forward, even when the path is hard. And in doing so, we transform our obstacles into opportunities, our pain into purpose, and our fear into fuel for the journey ahead. How can we be kind to ourselves while navigating grief? It's a question that doesn't always come easily, especially when we're in the thick of loss and pain. But self-compassion, treating ourselves with the same kindness and understanding we'd offer a dear friend, is a practice deeply rooted in Stoic philosophy. Seneca, one of Stoicism's most compassionate voices, once wrote, "Be your own best friend." At first glance, this might seem at odds with the Stoic emphasis on self-discipline and resilience. But in truth, self-compassion isn't about indulgence or weakness. It's about recognizing our humanity and giving ourselves permission to feel, to heal, and to grow. Stoicism teaches us to face life's challenges with courage and clarity, but it doesn't ask us to do so without care for ourselves. In fact, self-compassion is a form of inner strength. It's the ability to acknowledge our pain without judgment, to sit with our emotions without trying to fix or suppress them. Think of it like tending to a wounded animal. You wouldn't berate it for being hurt. You'd offer comfort, patience, and the space it needs to heal. The same applies to us when we're grieving. Take, for example, someone who's lost a loved one. In the midst of their grief, they might feel guilty for not moving on quickly enough, or they might criticize themselves for crying too much. But self-compassion invites them to let go of those judgments. It's about saying, it's okay to feel this way. It's okay to take the time I need. This doesn't mean ignoring the pain. It means meeting it with kindness rather than resistance. So, how might you practice self-compassion in your own life? Start by noticing how you talk to yourself when you're struggling. Are you harsh or critical, or do you offer yourself the same understanding you'd give to someone you love? Perhaps it's as simple as allowing yourself a quiet moment to breathe, or reminding yourself that grief isn't something to get over. It's something to move through at your own pace. Consider this: self-compassion isn't just about soothing the pain of the present, it's about building resilience for the future. When we treat ourselves with kindness, we create a foundation of inner strength that helps us face whatever comes next. It's a practice that doesn't ask us to be perfect, only human. And in that humanity, we find the courage to keep going, one compassionate step at a time. Regret is a natural part of life, but it doesn't have to define us. We've all had moments where we wished we'd done things differently. Maybe we said something hurtful, missed an opportunity, or made a choice that led to unexpected consequences. These feelings of regret can weigh heavily on us, pulling us into a cycle of what-ifs and if-onlys. But Stoicism offers a different perspective. Instead of letting regret consume us, we can use it as a teacher. Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic emperor, once wrote, "The past is gone, the future is uncertain, only the present is real." These words remind us that while we can't change what's already happened, we can choose how we respond to it in the here and now. Stoicism teaches us to approach regret with clarity and compassion. It's not about ignoring or dismissing our mistakes, it's about learning from them without letting them trap us in the past. Think of it like this: when you make a wrong turn on a journey, you don't abandon the trip altogether. You adjust your course, take note of what went wrong, and keep moving forward. Regret, in this sense, is a way to recalibrate, not a reason to stop. Take, for example, someone who regrets not pursuing a dream earlier in life. They might feel a sense of loss or frustration, wondering what could have been if they'd acted sooner. But instead of dwelling on that regret, they could use it as motivation to take action now. Maybe they start small, taking a class, reaching out to a mentor, or dedicating a few hours a week to their passion. By shifting their focus from what they didn't do to what they can do, they transform regret into a source of growth. So, how might you release regret in your own life? Start by acknowledging it without judgment. What's something you wish you'd done differently? Instead of replaying the memory over and over, ask yourself, what can I learn from this experience? How can I apply that lesson moving forward? This isn't about erasing the past, it's about using it to inform your present and shape your future. The Stoic approach to regret isn't about perfection, it's about progress. It's about recognizing that every misstep, every missed opportunity, and every mistake is part of being human. And in that recognition, we find the freedom to let go, to learn, and to keep moving forward. So, the next time regret knocks on your door, try this. Greet it with curiosity, not fear. Ask what it has to teach you, and then gently close the door behind it, knowing that the present moment is where your power lies. Nature has a way of reminding us of life cycles: birth, growth, decay, and renewal. It's a rhythm that exists all around us in the turning of the seasons, the rise and fall of the sun, and the ebb and flow of the tides. For the Stoics, this connection to nature wasn't just poetic, it was deeply practical. Seneca once observed, all of nature is a mirror for our own lives. In other words, the natural world reflects the truths we often struggle to see within ourselves. It shows us that change is inevitable, that loss is part of the process, and that even in the darkest moments, there's the potential for new beginnings. When grief feels overwhelming, stepping into nature can be a powerful way to regain perspective. Imagine walking through a forest after a heavy rain. The air feels fresh, the ground is soft beneath your feet, and the trees seem to stand taller as if nourished by the storm. In that moment, you might notice how the forest doesn't resist the rain, it embraces it, trusting that it will bring growth. This is the kind of trust we can cultivate within ourselves. Nature doesn't rush to fix what's broken, it simply allows life to unfold one season at a time. Consider this: when we connect with nature, we're reminded that we're part of something much larger than ourselves. The vastness of the sky, the stillness of a lake, or the resilience of a tree can help us see our own struggles in a different light. A walk in the woods, a moment by the ocean, or even sitting quietly in a garden can become a form of meditation, a way to process emotions that feel too big to hold. How might you invite nature into your own healing journey? It doesn't have to be a grand expedition. It could be as simple as tending to a houseplant, watching the clouds drift by, or listening to the sound of birds outside your window. These small acts of connection can ground us, remind us of life's beauty, and help us find peace in the midst of pain. Nature doesn't offer answers, but it does offer presence. It invites us to slow down, to breathe, and to remember that even in the midst of loss, life continues. Just as a tree sheds its leaves in autumn only to bloom again in spring, we too have the capacity to heal and grow. So, the next time grief feels heavy, consider stepping outside. Let the natural world remind you that you're part of a larger cycle, one that holds both sorrow and hope, loss and renewal. What if we stopped resisting what we cannot change? Imagine the weight that would lift off your shoulders, the peace that could settle in its place. This is the essence of acceptance, a cornerstone of Stoic philosophy and a powerful tool for finding calm in the midst of chaos. Acceptance isn't about giving up or resigning ourselves to fate. It's about recognizing reality for what it is and choosing to meet it with clarity and grace. Epictetus, one of Stoicism's most profound teachers, put it simply: make the best use of what is in your power and take the rest as it happens. At its core, acceptance is about aligning ourselves with the truth of the present moment. It's not that we stop caring or feeling, it's that we stop fighting against what's already here. Think of it like this: when you're caught in a storm, you can't stop the rain or silence the thunder. but you can choose to step inside, to wrap yourself in warmth, and to wait patiently until the storm passes. Acceptance works in the same way. It doesn't change the circumstances, but it changes how we experience them. Consider someone facing a terminal diagnosis. This is one of life's most challenging realities, a moment that tests the limits of our courage and resilience. Acceptance doesn't mean they stop hoping or stop living. It means they stop resisting the truth of their situation, allowing them to focus on what truly matters, spending time with loved ones, finding moments of joy, and making peace with their journey. Acceptance, in this sense, becomes a form of freedom. It's the choice to live fully, even in the face of what cannot be changed. So, what do you need to accept in your own life? Maybe it's a loss you've been struggling to come to terms with, a change you didn't see coming, or a situation that feels beyond your control. Take a moment to reflect. What would it feel like to stop resisting and simply allow yourself to meet this reality as it is? Acceptance doesn't mean the pain disappears, but it does mean you stop adding to it with denial or resistance. The Stoic practice of acceptance isn't about passivity, it's about empowerment. It's the understanding that while we can't always control what happens to us, we can always choose how we respond. And in that choice, we find a quiet strength, a sense of peace, and the courage to move forward. The next time you face something you can't change, try this. Pause, take a deep breath, and remind yourself that acceptance isn't the end. It's the beginning of a new way forward. Time is the one thing we can never get back. No matter how much we wish, bargain, or hope, the minutes and hours we've spent are gone forever. This truth becomes especially poignant when we're navigating grief. In moments of loss, time can feel both cruel and fleeting, a reminder of what's been taken from us and what we can't reclaim. But Stoicism offers a different lens through which to view time, not as an enemy but as a precious resource. Seneca, one of Stoicism's most eloquent voices, put it this way: "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it." These words invite us to reconsider how we use the time we have, especially in the face of loss. For the Stoics, time isn't just a measurement of life, it's life itself. Every moment is an opportunity to practice virtue, to connect with others, and to create meaning. This perspective becomes even more powerful during grief. When we lose someone or something important, the clock doesn't stop. The world keeps moving, and we're left with a choice: to let the weight of loss consume us, or to use the time we have to honor what's been lost and embrace what remains. Think about it this way: when we're grieving, it's easy to get stuck in the past, replaying memories or wishing things had turned out differently. But Stoicism reminds us that the past is gone and the future is uncertain. The only time we truly have is the present. It's in this moment, right here, right now, that we can choose how to live. Consider a simple example: cherishing moments with loved ones. When we're fully present with someone, listening deeply, sharing openly, or simply enjoying their company, we're not just passing time. We're creating something meaningful, something that can't be taken away. These moments become anchors, reminding us of the beauty and connection that still exist, even in the midst of pain. So, how might you make the most of your time? Take a moment to reflect. What's one thing you could do today to honor a memory, strengthen a relationship, or simply appreciate the gift of being alive? It doesn't have to be grand or dramatic. It could be as small as writing a note to someone you care about, taking a walk to clear your mind, or pausing to savor a quiet moment. The Stoic view of time isn't about filling every second with activity. It's about using it with intention. It's a reminder that even in grief, there's an opportunity to live fully, to love deeply, and to find meaning in the moments we have. Time may be fleeting, but the way we choose to spend it can leave a lasting impact. So, as you move through this day, ask yourself, how can I make this moment count? How can forgiving others, and even ourselves, help us heal? It's a question that might feel difficult to answer, especially when pain runs deep. Yet forgiveness is one of the most profound practices Stoicism offers for releasing the weight of hurt and finding peace. Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic emperor, once wrote, "The best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury." At first glance, this might sound like a call to rise above pettiness or seek moral high ground. But on a deeper level, it's an invitation to free ourselves from the chains of resentment and anger. Forgiveness, in the Stoic sense, isn't about excusing harm or forgetting what happened. It's about reclaiming our own inner peace. Think about it this way: when we hold on to anger or bitterness, it's like carrying a heavy stone. It doesn't weigh down the person who hurt us, it weighs down us. Forgiveness is the act of setting that stone down, not because the other person deserves it, but because we deserve to be free. It's a practice that aligns perfectly with Stoic principles, particularly the idea that our power lies in how we respond to life's challenges. We can't control what others do, but we can control how we let their actions affect us. Take, for example, someone who's been hurt by a friend's betrayal. The pain is real and the trust may be broken, but holding on to anger only prolongs the suffering. Forgiveness doesn't mean pretending the betrayal didn't happen or letting the person back into your life. It means releasing the grip of resentment so you can move forward without being defined by the pain. So, how might you begin to practice forgiveness in your own life? Start by reflecting on a situation where you feel hurt or wronged. Instead of focusing on the other person's actions, ask yourself, how is holding onto this pain affecting me? What would it feel like to let it go? Forgiveness isn't a one-time act, it's a process, often a slow and deliberate one. But with each step, you reclaim a little more of your peace. And let's not forget forgiving ourselves. Often, the hardest person to forgive is the one staring back at us in the mirror. We might blame ourselves for mistakes, missed opportunities, or choices that led to pain. But here, too, Stoicism offers wisdom. To err is human. Forgiveness isn't about ignoring our flaws, it's about acknowledging them, learning from them, and then allowing ourselves to grow. Consider this: what would it feel like to treat yourself with the same compassion you'd offer a friend? Forgiveness, whether directed outward or inward, is a gift you give yourself. It's a way to honor your humanity, to release what no longer serves you, and to step into the present moment with clarity and strength. The next time you feel the weight of anger or regret, try asking yourself, how might forgiveness help me heal? The answer might just set you free. True peace comes from within, not from external circumstances. This simple yet profound truth lies at the heart of Stoic philosophy. In a world that often feels chaotic and unpredictable, Stoicism offers a path to tranquility, one that doesn't depend on what happens around us, but on how we choose to respond. Seneca, one of Stoicism's most insightful voices, once wrote, "No person has the power to have everything they want, but it is in their power not to want what they don't have." These words remind us that inner peace isn't about controlling the world. It's about mastering our own minds and desires. At its core, Stoicism teaches us to focus on what we can control: our thoughts, our actions, and our responses, while letting go of what we can't. This practice of detachment isn't about becoming indifferent or uncaring. It's about freeing ourselves from the endless cycle of wanting, worrying, and resisting. Think of it like this: imagine being caught in a storm. You can't stop the rain or quiet the thunder, but you can choose how you experience the storm. You might feel fear, frustration, or even awe at its power. But by accepting the storm as it is without trying to change it, you find a sense of calm amidst the chaos. This is the essence of Stoic mindfulness, being fully present without judgment or resistance. It's about observing our emotions and thoughts without letting them control us. For example, when grief strikes, it's natural to feel overwhelmed by sadness, anger, or confusion. But instead of being swept away by these emotions, Stoicism invites us to step back, to observe them with a quiet mind, and to remind ourselves that they, too, will pass. Consider this: how might you cultivate inner peace in your own life? Perhaps it's through a daily meditation practice where you take a few moments to simply breathe and center yourself. Or maybe it's by journaling, allowing your thoughts to flow onto the page without judgment. Even something as simple as pausing to notice the beauty of a sunset or the sound of birdsong can become an act of mindfulness, a way to anchor yourself in the present moment. Stoicism doesn't promise a life free from pain or difficulty, but it does offer a way to navigate those challenges with grace and resilience. By practicing mindfulness and detachment, we create a space within ourselves, a sanctuary of calm that no external storm can shake. So, the next time you feel the weight of loss or the pull of desire, try this. Take a deep breath, remind yourself of what's within your control, and let the rest go. In that moment, you might just find the peace you've been searching for. How can we turn our pain into purpose? It's a question that feels deeply personal, especially when grief feels all-consuming. Yet, Stoicism offers a profound perspective. Even in our darkest moments, there's an opportunity to find meaning and direction. Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic emperor, once wrote, "What stands in the way becomes the way." This powerful statement reminds us that obstacles, whether they're losses, failures, or hardships, aren't just barriers to overcome. They're opportunities to grow, to learn, and to transform our suffering into something meaningful. For the Stoics, purpose isn't about ignoring pain or pretending everything is fine. It's about recognizing that adversity has the potential to shape us in profound ways. Think of it like this: when a tree is struck by lightning, it doesn't just collapse. Over time, it grows around the scar, becoming stronger and more resilient. In the same way, our struggles can become the foundation for new growth if we choose to see them that way. Consider someone who loses a loved one to a disease. The grief is immense, the loss undeniable, but instead of letting the pain consume them, they decide to channel their energy into raising awareness or funding research for that disease. In doing so, they're not just honoring their loved one's memory, they're transforming their grief into a force for good. This is the essence of finding purpose in suffering, taking what feels unbearable and using it to create something meaningful. So, how might you find purpose in your own challenges? Start by asking yourself, what's one way my pain could inspire action? Maybe it's through volunteering, sharing your story, or simply offering support to someone else going through a similar struggle. Purpose doesn't have to be grand or world-changing. It can be as simple as finding small ways to make a difference, even in the midst of your own healing. The Stoic belief in purpose isn't about erasing the pain, it's about giving it a place to live, a way to matter. When we use our struggles as a catalyst for growth, we're not just surviving grief, we're transforming it. So the next time you feel weighed down by loss, try asking yourself, how can I make this pain mean something? The answer might just light a path forward, one step at a time. As we come to the end of this exploration, let's take a moment to reflect on the timeless Stoic principles that can guide us through the challenges of loss and grief. At the heart of Stoicism lies the practice of acceptance, the ability to meet life's changes, however painful, with clarity and grace. It's about recognizing what we can't control and choosing to focus our energy on what we can. Whether it's the loss of a loved one, a sudden change in our circumstances, or the weight of regret, acceptance helps us find a sense of peace amidst the storm. Next, we've seen how resilience becomes our anchor in turbulent times. Resilience isn't about avoiding pain or pretending we're unaffected. It's about enduring with strength, finding the courage to keep moving forward even when every step feels heavy. Like a tree bending in the wind but never breaking, resilience allows us to adapt, grow, and emerge stronger from life's challenges. And then there's presence, the art of living fully in the here and now. Grief often pulls us into the past or fills us with anxiety about the future. But Stoicism reminds us that the present moment is where life unfolds. It's where we can find clarity, connection, and even moments of peace, no matter how small. By grounding ourselves in the now, we create a space to heal, to reflect, and to honor what's been lost while still embracing what remains. Epictetus, one of Stoicism's most profound teachers, once said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." This simple yet powerful idea captures the essence of what we've explored today. Loss and grief are inevitable parts of life, but how we respond to them, whether with resistance or acceptance, despair or resilience, distraction or presence, shapes our experience. And in that response lies our greatest power. So, as you move forward, consider this: how might you apply these principles in your own life? What's one small step you could take today to practice acceptance, build resilience, or cultivate presence? Whether it's journaling your thoughts, reaching out to a loved one, or simply taking a moment to breathe deeply, these practices can become powerful tools for navigating life's challenges with a sense of calm and purpose. If you found this journey through Stoic wisdom helpful, I invite you to join our community by subscribing for more insights and reflections. And don't forget to share your thoughts in the comments below. What resonated with you most? How have you used Stoic principles in your own life? Your stories and experiences not only inspire others, but also remind us all that we're never alone in this journey. Thank you for being here, and remember, no matter what life brings, you have the strength to face it with courage, clarity, and an open heart. Until next time, take care of yourselves and keep walking the Stoic path.